I was desperate to join a new job after my husband and I were both laid off last year. When I was offered a new role, I knew it would be a step down from what I was doing, but the manager and the team seemed great, and that part has not changed. However, since my manager, Gary, was so busy, he basically offloaded me to another manager, Jane. I was supposed to be the connection point between my team and Jane, but it quickly became Jane micromanaging me like she got personal satisfaction out of controlling every minute of my day. She would ask me to work through lunch, move or cancel vacation days, call at 11 p.m. on weekends, and order me around on phone calls like I was her assistant instead of a professional. She also made nasty comments about my weight and said I was big for my race. The list of personal slights was so long it filled 3 pages. I would talk back to her, and she did not like that. If anything, standing up for myself only seemed to make her more determined to break me. I only stayed because we needed to pay the bills. Finally, I had a mental breakdown on a Friday afternoon after she yelled at me for something trivial about scheduling a meet-in without including someone from her team who I did not know about. It was such a small thing, but she acted like I had committed some unforgivable offense. I was already dealing with a family tragedy and could not take it anymore. I told Gary about the situation with Jane, and he was sympathetic and not at all surprised, considering half her team had already quit. That alone told me everything. He immediately offered to move me to a different team under him. I was thrilled. Well, it turns out going to the new team did not help. Jane continued to order me around from afar like she could not stand losing control over me. When I ignored her emails, she came to my desk one day and started loudly talking about how I was not qualified for this role, making sure other people could hear. Gary overheard and finally told her off, but the verbal abuse did not stop. After 2 months there, I abruptly wrote my resignation letter and stapled the list of Jane's offensive comments to it, then CC'd everyone. Gary offered a bunch of accommodations to try to keep me, but seeing how she was still provoking me from afar, I said the only way for me to stay would be for her to go, and he did not have the authority to make that happen. Her manager was in a different country, and despite several HR complaints from at least 5 people, nothing was done. So I left, loudly and without shame, telling everyone exactly why I was leaving. Times were very bad for 3 months. There were nights we would eat slices of bread just so we could pay the mortgage and emergency expenses from a health crisis and a funeral. Even after he found a job, we were still catching up on bills, and still are. I spent months applying to 5 to 10 roles per day, sometimes over 20, trying not to panic every time another rejection came in. Last month, I saw a public memo about a big shot from a former company joining the company I had just left. I used to work with this guy closely, so I texted him a congratulations and said, "Let me know if you need any insights on the new place." We had a quick call where I told him some ins and outs and where I thought they could innovate. After this call, he asked me to join the team as his chief of staff. I accepted. Imagine Jane's shock when we had our first all-hands call. All the VPs and above were asked to welcome the new big shot in a giant conference room. In his speech, he casually mentioned that I would be his chief of staff, along with a few key names. I now sat 2 levels above Jane, and apparently, within the 3 months I was gone, the other half of her team turned over too. Every single person left. Gary was excited for me and said all the right things. However, Jane took the classless route and sent Big Shot an email saying I was an unqualified idiot, that I used to work for her, that I tried to get her fired, and that she suspected I lied to get ahead. She did not even try to be fake nice. She just handed over her bitterness in writing. Big Shot forwarded me her email and asked what this was about. I was nervous, but also a little thrilled, because Jane had no idea who she was really talking to. I was a director at Big Shot's competitor company before this, and had already been a level above her. I had worked with him for 5 years, so this was not some random promotion pulled out of nowhere. I had an hour-long call with Big Shot and told him she was bad for company culture and a nasty person in general, but more importantly, there was proof. Gary confirmed that her whole team had turned over. My prior resignation letter was still sitting on my desktop when I logged back in, and a few other nasty emails she had sent to recent staff were happily shared with us. By then, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Big Shot fired Jane on Friday. What makes it satisfying is that Jane probably thought she had broken me. She thought forcing me out was the end of my story. Instead, all she really did was clear the path for me to come back stronger, with more authority, while she exposed herself one last time to the worst possible person. She spent so long trying to make me look small, and in the end, she was the one who made herself look petty, bitter, and completely disposable.